Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton. Hi, welcome to the January 30th, 2021 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and I want to welcome you to today's show. I have two cameras set up just to make sure that everything records properly and that I have good video today. Anyway, so I'm going to probably go back and forth between cameras and we'll see how it goes. But anyway, maybe I'll just look at the screen on the computer and talk astrology. So, all right, let's get started. Let me see, we had a full moon this week. The full moon was, let's see what day, I think Thursday. Thursday at 2:16 p.m. Eastern and 11:16 p.m. or a.m., a.m. Pacific. And I felt this was quite a large event because it was in Leo and it was about ego, but it was about spotlight, being in the spotlight. And personally, I feel like there were some energies around letting go of an old story, and it doesn't necessarily relate specifically to Leo, though you would think it would. I think that the energy was really trying to show us how we can expand and be greater and larger than life in our own personal lives. So the sun was really super bright that week or that day. That was the 28th. I felt like, Jupiter and the sun are still together. They're only 2 degrees apart. And so they're still really combining their energies right now. And I feel if you're looking to do something really big in your life, now is the time. Saturn, Jupiter, Sun, it's about having the vision, having the ability to understand the details of what you want to do, but also having the forward motion and momentum, especially with Saturn, now to really bring forth those events in your life. And I'm just going to tell you, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to go down that road. I didn't change my mind. I'm not going to go down a certain road. I'm not even going to bring it up. So the moon was in Leo, but Mars and Uranus were in Taurus. And what that does is that's a square to Leo. And so what I was noticing in the news this week is the GameStop market upheaval that seems to have caused a great fluctuation. And I may have mentioned it last week about having all this energy in Aquarius squaring Taurus. And of course, with the full moon in Leo, that's games, straight out of the gate games. And Jupiter is also games. So the Sun-Jupiter conjunction opposite the full moon squaring Mars in Taurus. It was a given, honestly, on some level that this was going to rise up and be a thing. Because it wasn't just about people who were inexperienced dabbling in the stock market and making problems. It was about the people who feel they're left out of this particular system of finance and unable to do something fully to what they wanted to do. So from what I understand, GameStop, in case you hadn't heard, GameStop stock was being bet on by other people in the market, the stock market. They were betting on shorts, and shorts means that basically they will bet that it doesn't do well. And because of that, that particular stock, probably because it is so well known from the generation of people who actually invested. So Robinhood was an app that allowed people to invest more easily who are not as familiar with stocks. And so a lot of these people were on a chat room on Reddit for investing on Wall Street, and they were encouraged to buy large quantities of this stock, not individually, but collectively. And they did a couple others, I think AMC movie theaters and one other one, I'm not sure if I remember who it is. If I think of it, I'll let you know. But there were a few different stocks that were radically purchased and went up in value. I think like over $400 for one started at 100. I think it was GameStop started around 100 and went up to 400. And so these stocks were somewhat artificially inflated. They got together and said, let's all buy the stock, and that's what they did. And so in doing that, the people who are betting that these companies would fail lost millions, actually billions of dollars. I think they said 5 billion. I could be wrong, but I think it was around $5 billion was lost by these investors who wanted to bet on the failure of these stocks. And so the other part of it was that there isn't a way for these people who were on Robinhood to invest in other companies in larger ways. So they were basically making a statement that this isn't okay, we're not part of this game and you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, so we're going to take advantage of it. And they basically made a statement, and they also made a lot of money, but they made a statement for how stocks are actually handled and what's legal. And of course now there are investigations into how this happened and what is going to happen because of it, and it's not illegal. It's completely legal, but it was completely unexpected, which is Uranus in Taurus and squaring Jupiter, which is freedom. Jupiter can also represent youth and that brashness and that basically frivolous way of approaching a problem and just going at it both barrels, so to speak. And so I would really recommend continuing to watch this story develop, because it's going to be going on this whole year. And as long as Uranus is squaring Saturn in some capacity, that's going to be part of the story. But also another story I read, which was Facebook and Apple, and how both of them are enormous companies, but Facebook obviously has been buying up other apps, including WhatsApp and Instagram, which is a big part of what I do on social media. And I do have reservations about using Instagram because of its affiliation with Facebook. But, it actually is a really good app. So for now, I'm going to stick with it, and I really do enjoy using it. So the thing was, though, that all of the information, like micro data about people, is being used and mined out of all these accounts by Facebook. And Apple, Tim Cook, the man who is now running Apple, is saying that, we're really aiming towards being trusted by the client, as opposed to those who would use the client and basically now they are just a commodity. And it was kind of a pointed jab at Facebook. That storyline, of course, and both companies are being kind of scrutinized by the government now because of antitrust suits or antitrust issues, meaning they're monopolizing and not letting other players play. So all of that basically falls under this Saturn, Jupiter, Sun, which will be transiting out, but still Jupiter and Saturn in Uranus, in Aquarius, and Uranus in Taurus, with the added help of Mars right now, kind of kicking in and saying, we're ready for a fight. And remember, also Mars rules Aries, which is the energy of youth and children and brashness. So there's this youthful investing group, and I heard that something like on Robinhood, the people who use Robinhood are around 30 years old, average age. So it is it's younger, it's not as young, but I did see a lot of conversations about, or articles with people talking who are in their early 20s and investing. And so it's really something to watch. This is something that I've touched on. I know Bitcoin goes up and down depending on where Uranus is and what's going on with that. But right now, Bitcoin, it did hit above 30,000 and now it's gone down to 29. So it's still in a high range, and tech stocks are going to be really big for a long time because Saturn's there for the next 2.5 years, and then Pluto joins into Aquarius. So really look, and Pluto itself rules money from other sources or joint finances. So it is about what is the storyline on how we can both help each other. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes along and how that develops over time. Anyway, let's see what else we have going on here. I want to talk about what's going on in the sky at the beginning of the podcast. So those of you who don't want to wait till the end, don't have to. But guess what? Today's Saturday, and I just realized this. Mercury went retrograde at 10:52 a.m. So just 2 hours ago. It's right now 1:32 p.m. in Orlando. Well, I'm not in Orlando anymore, so I'm north of Tampa. I'm just going to leave it generic because I'm not here for the long haul, but I am here for probably 6 months. And it's just easier to say, yeah, north of Tampa, because nobody knows where I'm at. It's such a small town, and that's fine. Let's just say, if you want to know, I'm not far from Weeki Wachee. Those of you who know Florida vintage culture, that's where the mermaids do performances underwater in a freshwater spring, and it's another attraction Florida offers because that's the tourist side of the monetary side of Florida. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so Mercury retrograde, just retrograded, yay, in Aquarius, 26 degrees of Aquarius, and right now 29 minutes, so it's only been 2 minutes, 2 hours ago. And Mercury alone, in and of itself, rules Gemini. Gemini is kind of like mini Aquarius, mini Uranus, and so Mercury in Aquarius is like giving the sword to a child who's just used to playing swords, actual physical swords. So Mercury has a lot to say this next 3 weeks, and he's going to be talking about technology. He's going to go back over what we're thinking about doing. If you're going to put your house up for sale, I know someone who is, probably not a good time to make a good contract. Could be a quick sale, and so, but know that there are also going to be lots of unexpected things coming into that particular contract. I wouldn't necessarily put the house under contract with Mercury retrograde. I would wait until at least he goes direct and know that that's the last pass over these degrees. I think he retrogrades to around between 15 and 11 degrees. So let's see what we have with that. He retrogrades to 11:05, and then that is the 20th of February, which means it's also the first day of Pisces. And then he goes back to 26-29 by the 13th of March. And so we're going to have, still through mid-March to deal with whatever this energy is with the retrograde. And right now he's in the last bitter degrees of Aquarius. Quite honestly, he's right on anyone born mid-1964 through probably 65 is going to really, actually, let me think, even earlier than that, probably be through from 63. I know my sister's Saturn is late Aquarius also, and so that's going to be major shifts in ideology going on, how we think of things, how we communicate a storyline, how we interact with others, and what we do with technology, with pets, small pets. These are all the Mercury things. Education, for elementary education. It could also go all the way up to primary education in college. We've got Jupiter still in Aquarius, which absolutely is going to be an energy of higher education. Pardon me. Itchy nose as usual on my podcast. So yeah, Jupiter in Aquarius is about expanding our ideas and our awareness and learning and growing. Mercury going back, joining up with Jupiter here in a couple weeks. Excuse me, let's just see when that is. See if I can even find it quickly. Mercury. So it happens on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day at 4:40 p.m. The unexpected also associated with detachment and letting go. So Valentine's Day this year could be honestly more about breakups than get-togethers. So just be cautious when deciding if you're really committed before you go out on Valentine's Day. I know my daughter has someone that she's kind of back and forth with, and I'm going to have to probably say just be careful. Or don't do anything on Valentine's Day, please. If you can wait till after Valentine's Day, that would be really awesome. Any of you thinking about breaking up with someone, don't do that to them. Don't make Valentine's Day a bad day in their minds for the rest of their lives. Yeah, wait till after. And I know that's going to be super hard with Mercury and Jupiter together in Aquarius. It pretty much is quintessentially, I want my freedom. This doesn't work in my mind anymore. And that's like concentrated on Valentine's Day. But the other side of that story is we are learning what our needs are, our individuality, and how we can get better with relationships by understanding our place in the relationship and what we own as a person. Like, what is it that we need? Wherever Aquarius falls in your chart, that's where you're really learning these lessons of independence. And right now, because Saturn's there, you may feel like you're anything but independent in that area of your life. But I guarantee by the time Saturn moves into Pisces, you're going to feel a lot better. And I would also encourage you that by the time Jupiter gets to Pisces, there will also be a sense of maybe things can be better, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Neptune in its own sign currently is really promoting that deeper vision for what you want out of your life. And so having Neptune at 19 Pisces, and then Jupiter is only 10 degrees away from an inconjunct, but a conversation about your dreams and what is it that you want. So it's going to be a research trip, so to speak. It's going to be probably bristling, but the thing is, inconjuncts can be frustrating energy because the focus of what they are is they're 30 degrees apart on one aspect and then 150 on the other side. But we're talking about the 30 degree. The 30 degree aspect of inconjunct is going to be, personally, I see it more like a gradient, that you're going from one focused energy and it gradually moves towards the other. So even though they are analogous, to use an art term, meaning next to each other, they have their identities, but yet one gradually takes on the energy as it moves, the planets move into the other sign. So there has to be a communication, and also because signs that are analogous will culminate the energy from the sign before. And what I want to say about that is, I wish I had a chart. I didn't print out a chart for this, but when you have signs next to each other, they will, like, okay, if you put any sign in the rising position, so when you look at your chart and you have a rising sign is the first house of the zodiac. I'm going to do it in reverse so you understand it. It's the first house. That's the identity and the ego. The next house is how you manifest what this brings up in your consciousness or your activity. It's your drive. Aries is very driven. So there's an overlay when you look at the identity or ego or drive of a sign. And then you look to the next sign, the analogous sign, to see how that will manifest. Because the second house of the zodiac is ruled by Venus, and it is also an earth energy, earth element. The first house is Aries, the drive, the focus. Second house is earth energy. And how are we going to grow something? How are we going to manifest it? So you can use that technique for any event, any sun sign, or any other planet. If you want to know, oh wow, I'm getting a car on this day, do a chart and put the sun in the first house and see where the other planets fall in the zodiac. And then you can find out, or even Mars or Mercury, which Mars is kind of like action, taking movement. Jupiter, Mars, and then Mercury is cars. So these are all planets that are associated with the energy of moving forward in vehicles or in transportation or expression of those type of things. The materiality of a car would be Venus. And so you can see where they fall in your chart. You can see how they interact. And that gives you a better fleshing out of that particular energy or that chart. So I use this technique a lot just by eyeballing what's going on. And so a lot of times, if we have, like say now we have Venus right about to go in Aquarius in the next few days, and I know my detail mind won't just let that fly by. I have to tell you when that is, and that is Monday at 9:05 a.m. Eastern, 6:05 a.m. Pacific, right after the moon enters Libra. So that'll be interesting because the moon and Venus are going to be in detached signs, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't know how that relationship my daughter has is going to make it past there, but we'll see how it goes. Venus in Aquarius wants to let go, and also moving from the earth energy of the tangible, reliable, structural romance into don't want to be around this anymore, want to head on out and move on. Very much could mean breakups coming up this week. Also, so this cluster of planets, so in 3 days, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Sun, and Mercury is retrograde. So 5 planets in Aquarius, really expressing your singular place, your autonomous place in the collective. So it is also, and I had another point to make on this, it's multiples, because Aquarian is, any of the air signs have a connection to multiples of some sort. The balance of two, one against the other. And I wanted to touch on this because someone else keeps mentioning how Scorpio triangulates, and very well respected person that I love a great deal in astrology. But I adamantly disagree, because being a Scorpio rising, I don't see that as the energy of triangulation. What triangulates is Libra. And so just using my glasses as an example, Libra is the scales. You've got the left, the right, and the fulcrum, and that's what balances. And having been married to a person with majority Libra in the first house, triangulation was Libran. And then Scorpio is decisive action. So it's indecision based on multiple choices, which is an air energy, versus focused understanding on a very deep level, which is Scorpionic. So the air signs very much bring in more than one of something. Aquarian brings in multiples. Gemini brings in the twins, 2, and Libra brings in 3 or potentially more, but generally triangulates. So you can use that as kind of a format and anticipation of how this energy will manifest in the world. And Aquarian energy is the quantum energy. All air energy has potential for quantum understanding, but probably most focused is Uranian energy, because Aquarius is the sign of quantum energy and science and physics, and bringing through things that happen in ways that we don't necessarily understand. And that's partly because they come from different angles, they come from different dimensions, which dimensional thinking is very much Aquarian, and space, science, the ideas that go out beyond our known world. So quantum energy relates directly to Aquarius. And if you put that energy on the first house, Pisces is the next house. Excuse me, I've got an itch inside my eye. Okay, I think I got it. Anyway, yeah, having that energy of Aquarius related to the drive. The second house is Pisces, and Pisces right now, Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is in that second house energy, or the manifestation. So it's about the dream and how are we actually bringing that dream into material reality through vision and imagination. And quite honestly, I got chills with this. Aquarius is a phenomenal energy to really trigger a lot of those abilities to visualize and manifest through the imagination. I watched this YouTuber, and you should really check him out. He's amazing. It's under Curiosity Incorporated or Curiosity Inc. on YouTube, and he owns a vintage general store in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. But he's a really interesting guy. He auctions off a lot of vintage and antique items. But I was watching his live stream yesterday, and he was talking about this new part of his business he's going to be building. He has the general store and an empty lot, and he's going to build a cafe next to the general store and then lease it out to someone who wants to run it. And he said he just stood in the middle median, the grassy median that's away from traffic, and visualized what this building and how it would be and interact, what it was going to be like. And he's like, do you ever do that? And I'm thinking, yeah, I do it all the time. I have Saturn at 0 degrees Pisces. I have 4 planets in the Aquarius house, and including the planet that rules Aquarius. So the imagination can go wild. And definitely this full moon in Leo has been wonderful for increasing that creative side of us and really trying to bring some of the imagination into what we want to create for our vision of our life and our future. So yeah, wherever Aquarius is in your chart, really take a deep dive into it, because it's going to be around as part of our storyline, because Pluto will be going there in 2 years and be there for over 20. It's going to be a significant player in how society is restructuring itself, quite honestly. Be very fascinating. And I have been fascinated with that particular transit for a while. Okay, so next week is, let's see, like I said, we have the moon entering Libra at 6:25 a.m. on Monday. We have Venus going into Aquarius at 9:05 a.m. So moon, Venus, both in these air energies, moon in Libra. How do we balance? How do we bring cooperation to the home life? Now, this might be a bright spot. I did say a minute ago that the two, they can be difficult for detachment, but they can also bring new ways of thinking of relationships and cooperation in the community. So it's actually going to be kind of a nice energy on some level, because the clear air energy associated with emotion gives us clarity of thought around what we desire, but also what our heart feels is doable and hopeful. We've got the moon entering Scorpio on Wednesday, and then squares Venus and squares Saturn midday. And then in conjuncts Chiron and opposes Uranus. So that day, Wednesday, is going to be probably a more emotional day. We've got the Scorpio energy for 2 days coming up, Wednesday and Thursday, the 3rd and 4th of February. Like I said, all of those squares, and also the moon in Libra just at 1:15 a.m. squares Pluto overnight. And at 10:15 p.m. Groundhog Day, which is February 2nd. So there's going to be a bit of friction between what we're going to do as a couple and what I want to do as an individual. And then when moon moves into Scorpio, there is going to be the moon in Scorpio squaring Venus in Aquarius. Looks like I want to go deeper into this and you want to be done with it. So that's the energy that can also enhance breakups at that moment. But it is also the energy of awareness of death and dying and rebirth and transformation. I was thinking about Pluto in the last couple days, and really thinking about the completely life transformation that Pluto brings with it when it hits one of the angles or hits a cusp between two signs in your chart, or changes signs within a house in your chart. Pluto doesn't mess around. Pluto will completely say, if you're not getting this message, I'm going to shift your whole life, and you will have a different life after that. And it may not always be the life you want, but ultimately it's the life you need to learn from. And then let's see, I guess Friday is going to be much better. We've got the moon in Sagittarius, and really the aspects for the middle of the week and most of the weekend, except for Monday, are going to be moon aspects from what it looks like, which is a little bit smoother sailing with the exception of some heart, emotional issues. And then we've got Venus joining up with Saturn in Aquarius on Friday at 11:07 p.m. Pacific and 2:07 a.m. Eastern. So overnight, we're going to feel throughout the day on Friday that building of energy of really needing to own where you're at. And I find it really interesting. It just kind of dawned on me. There's a young woman who, I think she's 17, and she's entertainer. She's really popular with youth. Her name is JoJo Siwa. And I've kind of always felt like she was gay, and then she just came out this last week. And it's kind of like a release like that Venus joining up with Saturn, like I have to take ownership. And it's probably building even before, the 5th of February. But Aquarius is the LGBTQ lifestyle, or not even a lifestyle. I really hesitate to even call it a lifestyle, because it's not a lifestyle. It's part of your makeup, part of who you are. And so, having Venus transition from structured conservatism of Capricorn into Aquarius is like, now I need to get real and clear and clarify where my desires truly lie, my femininity. I definitely see Kamala Harris really shifting or transmuting some energy from feeling, more restricted. She was born, I looked it up, the 20th of, October. So she is 50 days younger than I am. And so I understand a lot of the energy of her chart. And the Virgo energy is very much asking permission to do things. But when Venus goes into Aquarius, she's going to take the reins and really do something on her own. And there was also another political story with Dr. Biden, Joe Biden, and she was, I guess they promoted that she will be taking almost personal interest and action on getting the children back to their parents from when they were separated in the last administration. So that's really going to ramp up towards the end of next week with Venus entering Aquarius. Again, 5 planets in Aquarius, and that's pretty intense energy around humanitarianism, ecology. It's going to be economy as well, and really owning your place in this world, which is ultimately the lesson of Aquarius. Where I was talking about Capricorn, the lesson was owning your own personal storyline and feeling like, instead of controlling others, own your own stuff. So responsibility and ownership in that way. And Aquarius is when you just have to. It's really the materiality of it, the second house. Aquarius is to Capricorn that manifestation of, it's my voice now and it's about me. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. I'm sorry. Anyway, so we're really ramping into this Aquarian energy coming up this week. And so Kamala Harris is going to test the waters with that, but I see a little pushback with Venus squaring Uranus. And of course, Taurus is a feminine sign, so she is really, and I got chills with that, she's really going to be the face of this huge glass ceiling shattering. And then I guess I keep going through my book. I don't want to keep, going into the next week. But, well, I'll just give you a hint. How about that? Let's just give you a teaser for the week after next. And let's see if there's any major, so Saturn begins the shadow on the 14th, Valentine's Day, along with Mercury joining Jupiter. So that's really going to be a story that probably lasts all summer, whatever happens on Valentine's Day. We have Saturn sextile Chiron, Mercury squaring Mars. So we'll talk more about that. And then we got Venus joining up with Jupiter, Moon joining up with Sun, and then Moon enters Pisces, Mercury joins with Venus. Lots of stuff the week after. So anyway, we'll talk more about what that means next week. And I want to thank you very much for joining me and sticking with me through this journey of technology that we are all now on, and probably in ways we never expected. But I would say the advice for the week is look at the technology associated with your accounts, your money accounts, your credit cards, and how you take money if you have a business, and where your desires are, money and love, how you need to start gaining more control and independence. And with that, I wish you a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye. I'm taking it, I'm making sure that there's, I've got to start over again.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, ShelleyOverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.